Welcome to Fan Fave with Katrina.
Fan Fave with Katrina.
It's time to talk pop culture.
It's a great day to be listening to Fan Fave. Welcome back. I'm your host, Katrina, and is it just me, or are we in the midst of the strongest concert season since the start of the pandemic? I mean, a Taylor Swift tour is literally boosting the economy and triggering seismic activity. Beyoncé is going from stadium to stadium with robots as backup dancers. Drake has a hologram, or maybe not, and somehow 5 Seconds of Summer is singing Don't Stop once again in the year of 2023. As an avid concert goer and super fan of all genres of music, I just wanted to take a moment with you all and talk through not only some of what I think are the best aspects of going to a concert these days, but we're also going to discuss now, 3 years post-lockdown, how the touring and live music industry has evolved and just the general state of concerts as they stand now. We'll also be hearing from other fans about their recent concert experiences. But first, let's do a quick pop recap to discuss all the things in entertainment that I have not been able to stop talking about since the last time I spoke to you all on this podcast. So first off, let's talk about these strikes. The Writers Guild of America is about to hit their 100th day of picketing after being on strike since May 1st. The Screen Actors Guild is also currently on strike since July 14th. I really hope that the writers and the actors can get a fair deal soon. If you are looking for ways to support the workers who make the exciting film and television content that we pop culture fanatics love, you can donate to support those out of work with the Entertainment Community Fund, which helps support employees and crew who are suffering hardship due to the strike. Just head to entertainmentcommunity.org for more information. Now, I have a couple of theater things to chat with you all about. I saw Rent in concert at the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C. This was a 3-night-only event with the National Symphony Orchestra and a star-studded cast that included Lorna Courtney of & Juliet, Miles Frost, who recently wrapped up his run as Michael Jackson in MJ on Broadway, Andrew Barth Feldman and Alex Boniello, both previously from Dear Evan Hansen, and Ali Stroker of the Glee project Deaf West Spring Awakening and the 2019 revival of Oklahoma. This was my first time experiencing Rent live, and I thought it was so good. Having those live orchestrations definitely brought new life to the music, and I felt like everyone in the cast was just amazing. It was a bit different of an experience to see a musical only in concert, though, because it was not really easy to follow. They really are only singing the songs. But other than that, I really enjoyed it. Also, another Jonathan Larson work is coming to the Kennedy Center in September, Tick Tick Boom, which I cannot wait to see. I absolutely love the music in that one. Also at the Kennedy Center, Moulin Rouge has arrived. You guys, I actually have Moulin Rouge at home now, and I'm seeing it tomorrow. It will be my 9th time seeing the production, but my first time seeing it on tour, and I will make sure to share all of my thoughts with you all on this podcast and also on social media, so make sure you're following. I already have heard so many great things about John Cardoza and Yvette Gonzalez-Nasser, who play Christian and Satine, but I especially cannot wait to hear another rendition of El Tango de Roxanne. It's just such a powerful song and a huge fan favorite. I also recently saw Moulin Rouge on Broadway last week, or maybe like 2 weeks ago now. I was in New York, and it was the final show for Derek Klena and JoJo. It was my 3rd time seeing Derek in the role of Christian. I actually saw him twice during the first part of his run last year before he left to do Sunset Boulevard down in DC. And then it was my first time seeing JoJo, and they were both phenomenal. I really love Derek's portrayal of Christian. He does a really great job at bringing a sense of youth and innocence to the character. And then JoJo just had such incredible and powerful vocals as the sparkling diamond. It was also great to see Ricky Rojas back in the role of Santiago. He actually originated the role on Broadway, but he had left the show and now he's back. I had seen him back in April of last year, but then he left with Aaron Tveit, and now he has returned and he's absolutely killing it. It's also proof that you never truly leave the Rouge, because first Aaron left and came back, and now he left and came back, so it's just constantly rotating through the cast, which is great to see the people back again. Alongside Derek and JoJo taking their final bows were ensemble members Sarah Bowden and Maya Bowles, and Maya just announced she'll be joining the cast of The Wiz on its national tour. They actually just announced the casting for all of their ensemble members, and can I just say I am so excited for this. The tour is Broadway bound for next spring, and it's kicking off in Baltimore, Maryland in September, which was actually where the musical originally premiered back in 1974. The tour makes additional stops in 12 other cities, including Charlotte, Washington, D.C., Atlanta, and Los Angeles, before finding its home in New York City for a limited engagement. I'm planning on checking it out either in Baltimore or DC, and then maybe also when it comes to Broadway. So stay tuned, I'll definitely be taking you all with me. Now, over in the music world, Olivia Rodrigo released the track list for her upcoming album Guts, which is out on September 8th. There's 12 songs on the soundtrack, and I'm just so excited. Vampire is an amazing song that kind of reminds me of her debut with Driver's License, just in the style of it, but I cannot wait to hear the rest of the album. Take a look at the track list and let me know what track you're claiming. I personally can't wait to hear Get Him Back. Something about that title just makes me think the lyrics are going to be so chaotic. She's also having a little Katy Perry moment with her song titled Teenage Dream, so I'm curious to see how that one is going to be too. Also in music, both the Jonas Brothers and Taylor Swift have announced new US legs for their tours. The Jonas Brothers added 50 new dates, bringing their 5 albums one-night tour up to almost 90 dates worldwide, and I have to say their tour route is very interesting. I kind of don't get it. They do a lot of repeating at the same venues, like they're coming to Capital One Arena in DC in September, and then they're coming back to this same arena again in December. I just never really see that. Usually artists will do DC on one leg and then come back around and do Baltimore on a second leg if they have one, but the Jonas Brothers are actually doing both DC and Baltimore on the first part, and then they're looping back around to come back to DC again. I will say though, they definitely have the demand for it because that September DC show is basically sold out and resale is expensive. So I'm glad they added another date so I can get face value tickets for the show in December. On the other hand, Taylor didn't announce that many more US dates, but she is going to a couple more cities and doing a longer stay in Toronto, bringing the Eras Tour to 146 shows worldwide. That's a lot, guys, but I'll be at the DC show for the Jonas Brothers, and I also want to wish good luck to all the Taylor Swift fans out there trying for the new Eras Tour dates that go on sale this week. I'll be trying for Miami, but we'll see how that goes. All of this talk of tour, though, is extremely relevant for the topic of today, so let's get into it. Today, we're talking all things concerts and specifically what the live music industry is like now. I'll be primarily spotlighting some of the biggest names in music, including Taylor Swift, Harry Styles, and Beyoncé, to understand how they've redefined the concert experience, which I find to be particularly interesting because 5 years ago, all 3 of these artists were on tour at the same time, and I actually saw all of them in concert in the summer of 2018, and now they're still absolutely ruling the live music industry. But some things have changed. Because this episode is all about the magic of concerts, I'm going to be talking through the entire experience from start to finish through the lens of primarily these 3 major concert tours. We'll also hear from fans about their experiences. Concerts are truly one of my absolute favorite things to do because they are an experience. Literally from the moment you see that announcement and you see that your favorite artist is coming to your city, and then you struggle and you work hard to secure tickets, and you guys, that moment when the day is finally here and you're getting all dressed up, you can only listen to the music of that specific artist all day, and then you're finally sitting in your seats as the lights dim and it's time to have the best night of your life. Right now, there are so many major artists on tour to the point where I don't even know about you all, but I can't keep up. Taylor Swift's Eras Tour just wrapped up its North American leg, which I had the chance to attend, and I talked about it a bit in my last podcast episode if you want to check it out and hear my thoughts. And then you have Beyoncé, who is on her Renaissance World Tour, which she started internationally and is now making rounds in the US. We also have to talk about Harry Styles, the man who has not stopped touring, until now. His Love on Tour finally had its conclusion just a couple of weeks ago in Italy after a whopping 7 legs, 169 shows. You guys, his tour literally spanned 3 years. I actually remember because he was one of the first artists to start back up touring after the lockdown, and I remember thinking, I hope this doesn't get shut down. Like, this is so soon, how is the concert going to happen? And then I attended his Halloween concerts a few months later, filled with precautions and fully masked, of course, and it was fine. But man, I attended 6 shows on that tour, and it was a lot. I don't know how he did 169, but anyways, guys, what I'm saying is concerts are just so much fun. So the first step to a live concert is the announcement, which pretty much every artist lately has been announcing through social media. I do enjoy when an artist announces their tour in a more creative way rather than just posting the dates up. Like, I remember Shawn Mendes back in the day, he used to post up coordinates of the cities he was going to, and he would have everyone scrambling on Twitter just to see where he was going, which was so chaotic, but tour announcements should be fun like that. It's so exciting when you look at the dates and venues and see that your favorite artist is coming to a city near you, and you realize that you actually have the chance to see them. That is, until you read that awful sentence. This on sale is powered by Ticketmaster Verified Fan. You guys, I have not been verified for a single tour since Harry Styles' Live on Tour 2017. Like, I'm not even joking. You can check my emails. I'm always waitlisted, which leads to me having to use a friend's account to buy tickets, or else I just have to hope for the best with general on sale. I'm not sure the process of how they decide who's verified, but I just don't understand how I could be verified for the very first Harry Styles tour and then literally never again. But anyways, I know I'm not alone in this issue because of what happened with Taylor Swift's Eras tour. That brings us to step 2 of the process of going to a concert, getting tickets. And is it just me, or does it seem like post-COVID, getting tickets is just so much more difficult? I think it's a combination of fans being excited and a lot less willing to miss out on seeing their favorite artist after we saw what it's like to go so long without live music. And then I think a lot of companies and people see that demand, and they also may be trying to make money after the pandemic too, because scalping has gotten insane. Back to the Ticketmaster Verified Fan process, we're all familiar with the Eras Tour fiasco, right? Basically, Ticketmaster received a record 3.5 million signups for their Verified Fan presale, which apparently was unprecedented, which led to them selling pretty much all of the tickets during the presales to the point where they actually had to cancel the general on sale. So if you weren't verified, you actually didn't have a chance to even get tickets. And if you were verified or you had a Capital One presale like me, you were likely subjected to extremely long wait times just to end up empty-handed. This even led to lawsuits being filed as fans were unable to get tickets, yet scalping websites had plenty. Now, that's just surface level of the issue, but unfortunately, it just feels so much more common now for popular artists where it's just so difficult to get tickets when they go on sale. Even more so now than ever, it's almost as if us fans face even more troubles if we can't get tickets right when they come out. Ticketmaster Platinum and dynamic pricing makes it so a ticket price can fluctuate based on demands. So while there may have been more affordable prices, by the time you actually get into the on-sale, prices have increased or even doubled, or all that's left may be super expensive platinum seats that mean absolutely nothing other than the fact that they're called platinum seats. Like, it's not like they're part of some sort of VIP section or anything, they're just more expensive. Fans of Bruce Springsteen faced major issues with this dynamic pricing when it came to his U.S. arena tour, as ticket prices skyrocketed to over $4,000. Also, I've been looking at Billy Joel's Madison Square Garden residency, and I feel like ever since he announced that they were coming to an end, the demand for those tickets has led to an increase as well. So this just seems like a common thread and an unfortunate trend to see how face value ticket prices are rising. With face value ticket prices rising, resellers are raising their prices as well. I definitely think the cost of tickets in the first place has to do with it, but before the pandemic, I don't know about you all, but I used to rely heavily on resale for going to my concerts. It was just a fact that the week leading up to the show, the ticket prices would drop, and I could always get tickets dirt cheap on StubHub, but that happens very rarely now. In fact, I feel like ticket prices rise the week of the show. Sometimes I could get tickets as low as $5, and for context, this applied to more popular artists too. I actually got tickets to Harry Styles' arena tour for just $25 the week of the show, and this was in DC, a large city, and I even found other screenshots from cities back in the day where he had resale for as low as $8, and he was pretty popular back then too. This was an arena tour. He actually played the exact same venue for his 2021 Love on Tour, but resale prices didn't even creep close to that low, so times have changed. Like, there's no reason a Taylor Swift ticket that started out as $50 on Ticketmaster is resold for over $350. Taylor's resale prices are absolutely insane to me. And I've even seen way too many news stories about people actually paying over $10,000 for a ticket. Many times now, I actually purchase my resale tickets from ticket reseller accounts on Twitter if things are too high on like StubHub or SeatGeek. But I will say you have to be extremely careful with that. I always take extreme precautions, but it's a way that I find that I can get resale tickets pretty close to face value because it's often fans selling back to other fans. Just make sure you use PayPal goods and services and don't get scammed, guys. But I did get multiple of my Harry Styles tickets that way. I got face value tickets to Taylor Swift because a friend couldn't make it. So always look out for opportunities like that. It really sucks that things are like this, and I wish there was a way to make concert ticketing more accessible and more affordable, and just to get tickets in the hands of real fans. Some artists are working to avoid scalpers by not allowing resale or by having ticket transfer restrictions, but I'm also in this Broadway Facebook group, and somebody actually made a post the other day saying they wanted to see Beyoncé on tour, but prices were too expensive. So they asked if there was such a thing as a concert lottery, and honestly, it sounds silly, but I thought that was a genius idea. Like, I don't know if any artists have done something like this. Maybe it's closer to like a sweepstakes, but for those that don't know, basically what a lottery is in the Broadway world is when a show has a free sign-up sheet like a lottery, and you typically enter the week before the show, or depending on what company it's under, sometimes it's even the day before a show. And if you win the lottery, you get the opportunity to buy tickets to that date of the show at a predetermined, heavily discounted price. The catch is you don't get to choose your seats, and they are usually only for a maximum of 2 tickets. But if you're lucky enough to win them, it's a great deal. I have won a few Broadway lotteries before, and it's so awesome because sometimes you actually get good seats and you're saving a lot of money. Like one time I saw 6 on Broadway for $30 and fantastic box seats. But obviously, when it comes to popular artists, your odds of winning could be very low. But it would at least be nice to see dedicated fans that may not have been able to get tickets at first get them through an opportunity like this. Just imagine, I'm going to use Harry Styles and his Love on Tour residency at Madison Square Garden, for example, because that was 15 nights at the same spot. It's kind of comparable to a Broadway show in a way, and it was also sold out. But imagine if fans could enter a lottery to get $50 tickets and then just like make it mandatory that they have to pick up the tickets at the box office the day of the show to avoid it being a scalper from winning. Like, it genuinely sounds like a cool idea to me. Also, while we're on the topic of getting concert tickets, I have to mention sweepstakes in general. I feel like they can also be a great way to approach getting tickets to a concert if you end up losing the opportunity to buy them. But I have to say, I feel like things have gone a bit downhill lately because before the pandemic, I used to win my way into everything. Like, that was my reputation in high school, the lucky girl who went to every single concert for free because she won tickets on the radio. But now I feel like radio stations just don't give away as many tickets as they used to. I don't know, I'm probably just a lot less proactive about searching for those things anymore, but I used to get a ton of concert tickets by winning radio sweepstakes, and I'm talking about big artists too, like Shawn Mendes, Taylor Swift, the Jonas Brothers. I saw all of them for free through radio contest. So I have to shout that out as a recommendation, and if anyone is interested in me doing an episode on those experiences, or maybe a video explaining things, let me know. I definitely have a lot I can talk about in that area. Now let's hear from a fan, Madeline, who is a fan of music, theater, and comedy, as she talks about her experiences getting tickets to events.
Honestly, the ticket buying experience is so insanely terrible right now. Like, I believe Ticketmaster just needs to go ahead and remove the ease of access to transferring tickets, because that's the only way that they're going to be able to get rid of the scalper situation. And I don't know about everyone else, but I apparently have a terrible gauge on popularity. Like, I cannot tell who the scalpers are going to go after. Like, obviously bigger concerts, but I tried to buy tickets to a comedy show through Ticketmaster. I joined all 3 pre-sales, literally woke up early on 3 different days to join the pre-sales and didn't get any tickets. And now tickets are like $200, $400, and it seems like no real person has them. And then I tried to buy tickets to the Beetlejuice musical tour, and those were all verified resale, marked up to like $150. But then I joined the Jonas Brothers pre-sale, had absolutely no problem. There's still a bunch of tickets available for the Jonas Brothers. Chloe Bailey, I bought her pre-sale, and they're was still some availability like a week later. So I'm just like, I don't know who they're going to attack anymore.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think it depends on the artist. Some definitely have more demand than others, but when the demand is high, things can get so crazy. So I definitely share that frustration a ton. Now let's hear from another fan, Cameron, who actually had no problems getting tickets to these shows.
For Beyoncé, I went to the Minneapolis show, and I was very fortunate enough to see that I was able to buy resale, even though I don't necessarily support resale, but for a decent price. I was able to get upper bowl tickets for about $100, which was very great. I was very excited to be able to see her, especially since I, was not able to join the presale. I was going through some different career things in my life, so I didn't know where I was going to end up, and I didn't want to buy tickets without knowing. So I was very fortunate on that front. Taylor Swift, I was very fortunate enough to be able to get tickets for a few shows. My friends and I all were able to get through on the great day that tickets went on sale. I have no idea how. I know I've talked to a lot of people who have not had similar experiences, so I am very grateful for that. Something I noticed is that when I was buying tickets to opening night on SeatGeek, they didn't have all of the issues that Ticketmaster had, so I was very thankful for that. However, with my friends who were waiting on Ticketmaster, it was, almost like a 12-hour wait for some of those shows, and it was very frustrating. And, I won't go too much into depth about my distaste for Ticketmaster, but I know a lot of people didn't like the experience, and I'm hoping that in the future, as more of these concerts go on, they can come up with a better system to be able to ensure that fans get tickets.
I have to say that's extremely, extremely lucky. Like, I'm manifesting that for this second round of Eras Tour tickets that are about to go on sale. I just hope that fans are able to get in much easier. If you are lucky enough to get tickets to the show that you want to see, then your next step is going to be getting ready for that show. So there are two things that I absolutely love doing in order to get ready for a concert. I love going online and joining group chats on Twitter or talking with my friends or mutuals who are going to the show just to build excitement as we count down the days. Doing this is also super fun because then you may end up making friends or people that you can hang out with during the day of the show or at the concert. I always just like to join them even if I don't end up talking because I can be nosy and I like to hear all of the updates about the show before it happens. Like if I have a pit ticket and people are camping out the day before, I may not be following the right people to see how crowds are looking on Twitter, but I'll definitely hear live updates about it in my group chat. So I like joining for stuff like that because it's just like a little community all for fans going to your show. I'm in a Harryween group chat from Harry Styles' 2021 Halloween concerts, and it's literally still extremely active now, 2 years later. Some of them actually have been featured in episodes on this podcast, so I would say that it's just a great way to meet other fans in general. The other thing I really love doing before a concert is picking out my outfit. I feel like this is something that depends on the show I go to though. I don't really care what I wear if it's like a random show, but if it's like a meet and greet or a concert where everyone else is dressing up, then I'm gonna dress up. Like Harry Styles concerts, I always plan my outfits in advance because it's just such a fun thing to be able to do as excited you are before the show. I went to his Harryween shows and I think I just had so much fun planning my outfits for those two shows, so I just kept doing it. It's also always just so fun to see what other fans come up with to wear at concerts. Like, I love scrolling through TikTok and watching everyone's transition videos, or like even when people make their own costume, it's just so cool. I mean, Harry Styles fans literally made it into Vogue for costumes worn at Harryween. Fans are so creative, and watching everyone else get all dressed up is so cute, especially when the fans collectively agree to wear a certain thing. Like Beyoncé fans at the Renaissance tour with their futuristic outfits and cowboy boots, or Harry Styles fans at Love on Tour with boas and cowboy hats. And then you have Taylor Swift fans making all the friendship bracelets. It's like different fandoms have their own fashion trends at concerts, which is really cool. It just adds a new level to the sense of community that fans have. Now, let's hear again from two fans, Ekene and Cameron, about their experiences getting outfits for their shows.
Right as I got my tickets, I was like, yeah, like my outfit is gonna be Alien Superstar, like Alien Princess, Starfire, like Cyborg, Silver. Because like it came out pretty early that the two themes were like Alien Superstar or like Disco Cowgirl. And I was like, Disco Cowgirl is not really my thing. Like I'm not one to wear like cowboy boots or denim a lot or like cowboy hats a lot, so I was like, it's more fun for me to go like the all silver route. It was like a big like fashion challenge for me, especially since I usually wear a lot more gold, and I knew like this whole Renaissance era was like definitely silver, so I was like, I have to expand my silver wardrobe. So it was a cool challenge.
I created a handful of different outfits, specifically for Taylor Swift, that I was very proud of. For one of my shows, I created a 1989 inspired jacket where I printed out a bunch of different Polaroids from the 1989 era. Back when you used to buy the CDs, they would come with a pack of different Polaroid images. So I found copies and I made copies of all of the different pictures and I made a jacket out of them. And, I was so surprised when I went to the show. I think I had about over 100 people come up to me throughout the show before Taylor went on and just complimenting me. And that truly meant so much to me. It was just a vision I had in my head, and seeing how supportive people were, that meant a lot to me. And, something I love about these shows is that it feels like it's a fashion show. Everybody's excited to show off their different visions. And, when else do you have an opportunity to do this kind of stuff? I just think it is so cool. That outfit ended up being featured on Taylor Swift's website the following day, and that was really cool.
You're listening to Fan Fave with Katrina.
Fan Fave with Katrina.
Now, those are kind of the biggest things leading up to attending a concert. Now I'm just going to share general thoughts about the experience of concerts. First off, let's talk about concert etiquette. I've seen a ton of posts from fans over the last few months especially, talking about how they think concert etiquette doesn't exist anymore, and their reasoning behind this is that the fans at the concerts now were kids before the pandemic and are just now starting to enter these live music spaces, and they're not acting as appropriate as they should be. And while I personally haven't had any of those types of experiences, I think it's really an important idea. Like, concerts should definitely be a safe space. There shouldn't be pushing or cutting people in lines, and definitely stop throwing stuff at the artist. I don't know where that came from, but the concerts I've been to, it's usually people trying to get a gift on stage, or like with Harry Styles, people throw flags on stage, and I feel like things like the flags are probably okay if the artist receives them well. Like, they're nothing that's gonna like injure somebody, and usually Harry picks them up and waves them around, so I don't think that he particularly has a problem with it. But really, it depends. And in general, I feel like Harry is really receptive of things like that on stage, but all of those larger items, water, literal projectiles, that has to stop. Like, seriously. Treat music artists with respect. It totally is not cool, and artists are getting hurt when they're trying to put on a show for the fans. Another thing that I want to talk about is camping and general admission shows. Camping out for shows is certainly not a new thing. Personally, I have never done it, and while I can't predict the future, I highly doubt I ever will. And I have to admit, it's kind of laughable for me to say that, considering I have camped out overnight multiple times to go to Saturday Night Live, but there's something about doing it for a concert that I just cannot imagine doing. And I think it's because a lot of the time you have to camp for however many hours, and then you go straight into the venue, and I just cannot do that. Like, I need a break. Concerts take a lot out of you as it is, and sitting outside all day and in some cases overnight is tiring enough, to the point where I wouldn't even enjoy the show. I've been to the Today Show a few times, and I've never gotten there before like 5 a.m., even when people camp out overnight, because once you get in, there's nowhere to sit or chill before the show starts. You're just standing the entire time, typically for like 4 hours, and I think that's just too much after you've camped out all night. I will say from my experiences camping out at SNL, it did show me that camping out can actually be a lot of fun, especially with a good group of friends. But I just can't do that and then go to a concert. I will say I think the process is changing in general now, at least with larger venues that simply don't want a ton of people outside all night. I know at Madison Square Garden for the Harry Styles residency shows, they actually banned camping, so people would spend the night across the street at the train station, which it's gross over there. Like, it's so nasty over there. That's a place I could never spend the night. But at MSG, they had this rule where you would line up and get a wristband at like 7 a.m., and then that would be your number, and then you could leave and come back for the show later that night. Something similar was also done with the Paramore Arena tour this year. This is nice because you get to camp out, get a good spot, leave, relax, have your day, and then come back for the show. I will say though, when I had the option to do that for my concerts, I still just didn't camp and I ended up still having a fantastic view anyways. So at that point, it's just up to the preference of whatever you wish to do. But for artists like Harry Styles, you really didn't even have to camp. He had a 360 stage in the middle, so everyone had an amazing view. Like, I was so close and I just got there when doors opened. So I feel like when it comes to camping, you really don't need to overdo it. Now let's hear from a fan. Here's Akene with thoughts on camping out.
I am anti-camping out because, like, let's not be jobless. Like, we have other things to do than to, like, sit on the street waiting for, like, our favorite artists to, like, grace our presence. I think there's just other things to invest your time into. Jungkook from BTS, he came in town to do a performance of his solo set, and it was crazy. Like, people were camping out, like, a week in advance for it, and mind you, he only has, like, 3 songs to his name, right? And he was only going to perform, like, a 30-minute set. So I was like, why are you guys camping out a week in advance just to see him for 30 minutes? I just couldn't, nothing in my head is going to ever make that okay. Like, let's just go home, take a shower, wear deodorant, let's eat some food, and we can come maybe an hour before the show. I think queuing for anything is terrible.
I really agree. Fans can get super excessive with camping. Like, I don't understand how people can camp out for a concert for like a whole week. Like I said, I feel like one night is too much. So a week is just like crazy to me. And I feel like it always starts because one person decides to go out there and camp like 3 days early. And then everyone else on social media starts seeing people are out there and they start getting pressured to go out there early too. And then it's a huge mess. But at the end of the day, I feel like camping is cool if that's what you want to do. There really is nothing like seeing your favorite artist up close or from the barricade. Back to the concert etiquette point, I will say 2 things I wish fans didn't do as it relates to camping. 1, I hate seeing all the trash and leftover stuff from camping out in the streets. If you're gonna camp, definitely try to clean up after yourself. And then 2, don't cut in front of people. I heard so many stories, especially from Love on Tour, when Harry had back-to-back shows about people cutting in line or even having their friends save them a spot and then leaving to go to the concert that night and then getting back in the front of the line when it ended for the next show. Like, that's really ridiculous and unfair. Another thing I want to talk about is whether to record or not to record at shows. This is such a popular discussion that fans have online when it comes down to going to concerts, and I have to say I am 100% on team recording. Personally, when I'm recording at a concert, I'm not watching the show through my screen on my phone, so I can technically still live in the moment while recording. But also, I just love recording because then I always have the videos to go back to and listen to whenever I want. I've seen a lot of fans talking about it on TikTok, but a lot of people, myself included, tend to forget the details of everything that happened at the show. But if you recorded it, you'll always have that to go back to and remember. So yeah, my opinion on that is dance and live in the moment and have fun, but get your pics and videos too. Let's hear from another fan, Madeline, with her thoughts on recording at concerts.
I honestly have zero problem with recording at concerts as long as you're not blocking anyone else's view. I myself like to record at concerts because, and I know people are always like, you need to live in the moment, you don't need your phone out. And I'm like, I can multitask. I'm not staring at the concert through my phone. I have my phone up to the side recording and I'm looking at the concert. And me personally, I like to remember that I had a good time by seeing that I had a good time. You know, like I'll be thinking about the remixes of songs that somebody did at their concert like a week, a month later. And then it's going to suck if I can't go back and listen to that because I didn't record it. So I'm going to record a concert because I actually want to be able to see it later and experience that good time again.
I totally agree with this. I mean, I tend to forget certain things from my show, or sometimes I just want to go back and listen to a live version. And yes, because I'm singing and dancing along, my videos may not be the best quality, but hey, at least I still have them. Now, some quick final thoughts on some of the fun aspects of concerts. First, fan projects. I think these are so cute, but they very rarely work the way they used to. Everyone wants to be One Direction Where We Are tour at San Siro Stadium, but the crowds really don't participate as much anymore. Plus, executing fan projects seem like so much work for fans to coordinate nowadays. I feel like most fan projects now have translated almost into the fashion of concerts. Like, I would consider Taylor Swift fans making and trading friendship bracelets to be a fan project. Even if it has nothing to do with the actual show, it's still very cute. The next thing I want to talk about, merch. I don't know about you all, but I have a merch buying problem. I love getting merch as like a souvenir from a show, but my favorite merch is anything that's commemorative. Like if it's unique to the city, I love that so much. I know Harry Styles used to have a different t-shirt for every city of his 2017 and 2018 tours. He also did it for the residencies and cities on his European leg of tour, and I just love stuff like that. Like I will never not buy it. I do really hate having to buy merch during the day of the show, though. There's just so much other stuff that I would rather be doing rather than standing in the line, like going to photo booths and meeting up with friends. But then the merch lines inside are like a 45-minute wait or longer. So I really appreciate every artist that has done early merch lately. I feel like that's just a fairly newer thing for artists to do, but it's so much easier to go to the venue earlier in the day or even the day before. So when you come back, all you need to do is just enjoy the show. As for venues, I have my personal opinions on different types of venues, and I would love to hear opinions from you all, but I have to say arena tours are my absolute favorite. They aren't too big, but they're large enough where you're getting a pretty decent spectacle of a show if done right. Like there's always a lot of cool extra stuff, like setups in the arenas, different booths, and photo spots you can walk around to, and they're always going to be indoors. I don't mind stadiums, but you do risk bad weather, and I just feel like between stadiums and arenas, the price for the worst seat in the house is going to be the same, but there's a huge difference between the view from the worst seat in an arena and the worst seat in a stadium. Like in a lot of arenas, yes, there are nosebleeds, but you can still see pretty decently. In a stadium, if you're at the top, it's going to feel like you're watching Ant-Man. But I do love some good pyrotechnics at a stadium show, especially when there's fireworks. I also think smaller theaters are nice, but I don't like general admission shows that much because, like I said, I don't like to camp out. And to be honest, if I need to sit, I want to be able to. There's one venue style that I absolutely will try to avoid, and those are outdoor amphitheaters. I'll go if an artist I really like is there, but they just aren't that nice to me. There's the same problem with the stadiums where you can never really predict the weather, and one of my local amphitheaters actually flooded last year during a Halsey concert, and it was a mess. Plus, similar to stadiums, your cheapest ticket in an amphitheater is going to be a designated space in the grass. Plus, the sight lines in amphitheaters always just feel bad to me. Like, the stages are so small, the screens are not that great, and the sound doesn't travel well, so I always try to avoid amphitheater shows. My last overarching thought about concerts right now is that everyone should have an Eras tour, a journey throughout their musical library. There are a lot running right now in their own type of way outside of Taylor Swift. Ed Sheeran is on his Mathematics tour, which actually started before the Eras tour and is technically in support of his 5th and 6th studio albums, Equals and Subtract. But if you look at the set list, there's a good amount of songs from Plus, Divide, and Multiply. And I think that's why it's called the Mathematics tour, right? Because he's taking us on a journey through each of his math-titled albums. It's not necessarily formatted the same as an Eras tour, but I really love this idea of having a variety of songs, both new and old, incorporated into the set list. It allows fans who may not have been able to attend a tour in a previous era get to hear their favorites live. It's also just really great for appealing to a wider audience. I think this idea of an Eras tour kind of birthed out of the pandemic where artists released multiple projects, but they weren't able to tour them. So Taylor Swift, for example, because of COVID, she couldn't tour 3 albums, Lover, Folklore, and Evermore. Then she comes out with Midnights, so instead of doing just a Midnights tour, she picked back up those other 3 albums and then she expanded it to a full Eras tour, so fans will be able to hear not only those 4 albums that she released since her last tour live, but you also still get to hear her older music as well. I also think there's this clear rise in nostalgia that may have also been birthed during the pandemic, but people want to hear the older songs that they grew up loving. So like the Jonas Brothers now, they're doing a tour of their older albums, which is really cool. And even 5 Seconds of Summer, who aren't marketing their tour as an Eras tour, really are pulling older songs out of the vault to play live again for their fans. I also really love the one night only concert concept, which when I think of it, I really think of Harry Styles and how he did those shows playing his new album on release day from top to bottom for only one time. And I know he didn't invent it, but I think that's such a unique idea since most artists don't play every song from their albums, and that could lead to some fan favorite songs not being able to be heard live. So a good one-off, one night only show every once in a while is a good idea for artists. I also think bigger artists could see success in doing a residency and playing different albums in full each night, which is exactly what the Jonas Brothers did earlier this year with their Broadway residency, for example, and I know some other artists that have done this as well. It's just a lot of fun, and it's almost like an era show, but even more in depth because you're getting almost every song and it's split up across multiple nights. Let's hear again from a fan, Akene, about her favorite parts about the concert experience.
I think concerts are really fun. I think the adrenaline rush of seeing your live artist is like something that's kind of unbeatable, especially when you've only seen them through a screen for like years and years and years and years. Seeing them in the flesh is like an otherworldly experience. It's like, oh my god, these people are not just like pixel characters. They're like actually like walking about my screen. So it's kind of crazy. I really like it though. And then after that, I saw Yoongi from BTS or Suga or August D on his tour. It was in an arena versus like Terminal 5 from Chloe. So it was like really good, like having a seat, first of all, like not having to like fight your way to the front, and also again, like seeing his energy in real life, like the crowd with you two just like screaming along in unison. It really makes or break it, in my opinion. Like I just really love when the crowd is like fully locked in and like the artist has fully established that connection. It's just something that can't really be like, I don't know, like articulated in a way. And it's really fun and I love it.
It's really great to hear how concerts can have such a positive impact on people, and they really can create special memories for fans. Let me know what your favorite thing about concerts is on social media. Now, as I mentioned at the start of this episode, there are 3 major artists on tour right now. I previously talked about my experiences attending the Eras Tour and Love on Tour, but we also have a fan here that attended all 3 tours with Harry Styles, Beyoncé, and Taylor Swift. Let's hear again from Cameron with his thoughts on all 3 tours.
I was very fortunate enough to attend the Eras Tour a total of 5 times, Love on Tour 7 times, and the Renaissance World Tour once. And something I absolutely loved about all of these shows is just how much people care about, making it this big event. When it comes to like the costumes, everybody's dressed up, or even like the social interactions when it comes to friendship bracelets at these shows. That's something I thought was super cool. Overall, I absolutely loved my concert experiences for Taylor Swift, Harry Styles, and Beyoncé. For the Eras Tour, I was lucky enough to attend opening night, and I will always remember that feeling of not knowing what was coming next. She came onto the stage and she started doing Lover, and right away after Miss Americana and the Heartbreak Prince, it goes into Cruel Summer, a song I didn't know if I'd ever hear live in my life, but it was always something I wanted, and being able to share that moment with like 70,000 people was truly so special. And then we had the feeling of not knowing what era was coming next, and when we were in an era, it was like, what songs was she going to play? I know everybody there was spending months trying to predict what the set list was like. I personally was so wrong with my predictions, but it was just such an amazing experience. And even if it was your first show or your 1 millionth show, Taylor Swift is just an unrivaled performer. Seeing how she puts her vision into work, how she keeps up all of this energy, it is truly awe-inspiring. And if I could spend every single day of my life watching Taylor Swift perform, I absolutely would. Similarly, with all of my Love on Tour shows, I absolutely love how Harry Styles creates this environment that is so welcoming, and it's just like a big dance party where everybody wants to dance and sing along to some happy songs. And I think that's really what Harry does best, is bring people together through just some happy music, and being able to experience that live with other people is just absolutely so cool. One of my favorite shows on Love on Tour actually ties back in with the idea of outfits, and that was going to Harry Ween. I had to work it around with my schedule of missing class and flying out to Los Angeles, just because everybody was talking about how cool Harry Ween was in 2021. 2021, and I wanted to make sure I would not miss it for 2022. And ultimately, it was an amazing experience, trying to predict what is Harry Styles going to dress up as, coming up with my own outfit. I ended up going as Troy Bolton from High School Musical. It was just so cool. I remember being outside the arena for hours before the show was even starting, and you could just feel something in the atmosphere of like everybody was so excited to be here. We knew it was a once in a lifetime opportunity, and I just remember thinking, this is so cool. When he came out as Grease and sang Hopelessly Devoted to You by Olivia Newton-John, that was just such a mind-blowing memory. I think that's going to be a core memory I'm going to take with me wherever I go. And it was moments like that where I'm just so thankful. We live in a time where we're able to see artists like Harry Styles and Taylor Swift. I think back on older generations, and I think, these artists are kind of like, not necessarily at the same level, but it's kind of like, the Beatles or Elvis or Michael Jackson, these big figures that are household names and are leaving this big legacy. And, how fortunate are we that we get to live in a time where we get to see them perform, for some people multiple times. And I just think that is so cool. For the Renaissance World Tour, I actually was not as familiar with Beyonce's music going in. Of course, I knew a few songs that would be played on the radio. I was trying to familiarize myself with more modern songs off Renaissance, like America Has a Problem and Cuff It. But I didn't know a lot going in, and I just thought, I heard amazing things about the tour, and I thought it was going to be a grand spectacle, so of course I wanted to see it. I was absolutely blown away when I walked in for the first time. I think I knew about 5 songs on the set list, but something that really blew me away about this show was just the visuals. I can't think of an artist who puts more efforts into visuals than Beyonce, and I think anybody who has seen the show can definitely attest to just how amazing and mind-blowing it is. I couldn't believe, they were having all this happen in just a stadium concert. I've been to stadium concerts where there's not really a lot going on, and that's cool because you're there to see the artist. But when you see this, it's really, that grand spectacle where Beyonce's putting all this effort to actually put on a show. It's a big event, something that you're going to take with you. And I can definitely say that, while I wasn't as familiar with Beyonce's music going in, I am definitely a diehard stan now. And I am so excited to hopefully see her in the future on future tours if she does tour again. Just because I know that no matter what she does, I believe in her vision. And I think it's just going to be so cool.
First off, I think it's amazing to be able to attend these fantastic tours. Even looking back to their 2018 tours when all 3 artists were on tour at the same time, it really does feel as if they have grown and evolved as musicians and made their live performances even better. I also just want to add that I think it's so cool to be able to go to an opening night show and have absolutely no clue what's going to happen. Everything is just a complete surprise to you before all the videos go online, and you kind of already know what's going to happen. I personally tried to avoid seeing a lot of spoilers, at least for Eras Tour beforehand. I saw a lot about Loveland Tour before, but I usually try sometimes to avoid spoilers because it's just so fun to experience it live for the first time. And I've even seen like a few TikToks of Taylor fans who have succeeded in doing this and actually completely avoided seeing show spoilers online. And then they get to the Eras Tour like completely fresh without any previous knowledge 4 or 5 months after the tour started, and they get to experience it as if it's that opening night for them. I think special shows in general also just have a higher energy, whether it's opening nights or closing nights, or as Cameron talked about a bit, if an artist does something special like Harry Wayne, the fans and the artist both go all out and you never really know what to expect. And again, grand spectacle shows in stadiums are absolutely so much fun, so I know Beyoncé is killing it on the Renaissance Tour as well. I want to close this episode out by talking about the future of concerts and what I would like to see for the experience. To put things simply, I would like to see concerts become more affordable and accessible for all fans and just to stay a safe space for everyone. Let's keep dressing up, and as I just said, I want more era-style tours, please. That's all for today, and I hope you all enjoyed this episode. Let me know your thoughts on what we talked about today, especially if you're going to or have attended a concert this summer. I want to hear from you. As a reminder, this podcast is a hub for all things pop culture. Keep listening to Fan Fave for recaps and breakdowns of the latest in entertainment news, trending topics, and more with commentary from fans. As Fan Fave is a bi-weekly podcast, you can expect new episodes every other Tuesday when I'll dive into a different aspect of pop culture. You can also stay in touch and join the Fan Fave community on social media, where I'll be posting additional video content as well as vlogs from my many adventures and events I attend in the entertainment world. It's at Fan Fave Media everywhere. So connect with me because I want to interact and hear from all of you, my fellow fans of pop culture. Thanks for listening and see you soon.